When you want to set up a takedown proactively and you're in an open stance, closed stance, you can see we can almost go chest to chest if we get close. It's called closed stance. If he's open stance and we try to go chest to chest, we can't because our legs block each other. That's why it's open stance. And the setup, it's much different. If I want to use the same technique as I did in a closed stance, for example, and try to go for a double leg with a setup of my jab, I could do so. You know, I can get in, turn the corner and take my opponent down. I've done it when I fought Johnny Hendricks right off the bat in the fight. But you need to be very fast and your timing need to be impeccable. So the chance of success are lower that if you would perhaps use with a jab, because your head, when you jab, naturally goes towards the inside. If you would go for a single leg, then other finish. So remember, when you set up a takedown with a jab, your head goes inside. When you set up a takedown with your cross, your head goes naturally outside. You need to use the momentum to get in. You know, you can't just do a jab and then switch because you're gonna lose time. Your opponent will see you coming. So all the takedown that I'm showing you are made to be efficient. So the first one will be a single leg to a double leg. So I'm getting in with the jab, a distraction, very important. If I'm coming in with no distraction, my opponent can knee me on the way in. Very dangerous, I can get knocked out. So very important that I make him worried about the jab. And then I'm getting in. When I get in, my head apply a lot of pressure on him. If my head doesn't do any pressure and I'm bending forward, I can get thrown, you know? Very easy. So make sure you got that cover. So when I get in, my head is aligned with my spine and I apply a lot of pressure. I'm applying a strong pressure. Here, and I'm here. When I want to go for my double leg, I need to clear the path. Here, and then I'm stepping in, reaching out and collecting the other leg behind his knees. Sometimes my opponent will defend and naturally put his leg outside of my leg. Here. Once again, single leg to double leg. Setting up with my jab and I'm driving forward. Remember, if my opponent's leg is heavy and I just try to lift him, I'm gonna spend a lot more energy than if I use my head to drive when I get in. So use that, use the momentum. Here, collect to the double leg. I'm using a jab as a decoy, getting in deep on that single and drive forward, collecting the other legs. Sometime when I get in and I'm doing a great job of creating a distraction, getting in, applying a great pressure, but my opponent grabbed my wrist and I feel he's very strong. So if I try to go for a double leg, I feel I'm gonna lose him here because he's sprawling his leg. So when that happens and I feel a great pressure from my opponent, I can use that against him. So what I do is I get in, I feel a great pressure that if I let go, I'm gonna fall forward. So I'm resisting the pressure. I'm gonna first take a step with my toes turning inward in order for me to have a second step behind my knees and apply a pressure with my chest at the same time and making sure that his leg that I'm holding never touch the floor. Once again, I'm here, applying pressure. He's holding my wrist very tight. I step with the chest pressure. Using my jab as a decoy to get in deep on that single leg. A little step in front of my opponent and a big step behind my foot using a chest pressure. When I'm in a single leg position sometime, my opponent will defend the chest pressure by putting his leg outside and releasing the pressure. When it do so, it leaves him open for a double leg, the technique that we just did before. So it needs to be in the perfect timing, and you need to respect the step. If you try to go right away for the double leg, it won't work. So you need to apply the pressure for the chest pressure, then it doesn't work because he's doing the defense. Then you go back to the first one. It's an action-reaction sequence. You need to respect that. So first I'm here, going for the chest pressure won't work. Switching to double leg. Do on the other side as well. I'm driving forward while I'm collecting his leg with my hips.
Jab and level change. When I go for that chest pressure, he changed the position of his leg. It forced me to drive through and collect the other leg.
If I get in a single leg position on my opponent and nothing works, I try chest pressure, double leg, and he's got too much of a great balance. The best way to put him down is to lift him by the center line if I don't want to disconnect my grip. And one way that I do so is with the crotch lift. So I'm going to show you two different angles. I get in here. I'm pulling him to me. I'm gonna duck under and lift him by the center line. See the other angle? I get in. Duck under, switch my grip, and lift him with my hips. Here. And then I get the back. One more time. Here. I got the back. When I lift him, a lot of guys are strong, they can lift him with their arm. But make sure you use your hips and your leg because they're much more stronger than your arm.
Fake the jab, level change. When I go to that single leg, I lift him up with the power of my hips and by his center line. Once he's down, I put all my weight on top of him to make sure he does not get back up.
When I want other option than trying to take my opponent down with the leg, I can go for the body lock. So when I'm here, I'm getting in, using my jab as always. As a decoy, I get in. And I want to attack the body. One thing I need to be aware all the time is I need to constantly apply a pressure to make him go backward with my head, being in a solid posture, aligned with my spine. If I'm soft here, my opponent can throw me. Especially if I try to reach across to grab his body. So make sure that when you do so, you're solid here. Grab the body and then pay attention to my leg. I'm gonna step back and break his posture by pulling him in with my body and crushing him with the pressure of my head. Once again, I get in, solid. Reach for the body, I let go the leg. One, palm to palm, and I step behind, crush his spine to break his posture.
Jab decoy, get in on that single leg. Then I reach across for his body and I use the power of my body to break his posture down.
Sometimes when I get a good grip on my opponent and I try to break his posture, he resists very well and I just can't do it. So I use his resistance to sweep him. And when I sweep him, I don't only sweep him with the arch of my foot like some regular leg sweep, I sweep him with my leg. I try to table his leg with my leg here. So once again, I'm here. I get in with a good decoy. Here, I got a good posture. I don't go forward to get thrown. Very important, I switch. Try to go behind to break his posture, but he's too strong. Then I slam in on the floor. Once again, I do a great job of getting in. Switch, pressure. Take him down.
Use my jab as a decoy, getting in on that single leg, reach across. When I try to break his posture down, he's too strong. I use the thrust of my hips to sweep him down.
Sometimes when I get into a single leg position, his leg is very heavy. Or simply, not that his leg is heavy, I just like that particular technique that I'm about to show you. So I need to, in the same time, hook his leg with my leg, hook his other leg with my arm, and grab his waist. So all in one, so pay attention to it. So I'm doing a great job of getting in here. But he's putting a lot of pressure forward, and he put his leg down. I let him do so in order for me to hook his leg and his waist in the same time. Here. Once again, I can also force him into that position if I want to. He doesn't need to put that pressure. I can also force him to go there as a trap. So here, I'm pulling him into it in order to finish the job. Very important that when you hook, you need to push off your back foot with the ball of your leg and drive as much as you can to apply a pressure.
Use my jab as a decoy, getting in on that single leg. I pull him back and I reach across his body and use both of my hooks to drive him down with a forward pressure.
If you like to set up all your takedown with the lead arm, this one is a little gift for you. A little bit in a similar way when I was doing this technique in a close stance, so with the cross here and the hip toss. Now I'm gonna show you how to do it with the lead. We're not gonna do it with a jab because you need to sell it more as a very powerful punch. And a jab is not enough to have that kind of repercussion on my opponent. So I wanna use the Superman punch. So if I see that he blocks me and he covers, it indicates to me that he's perfectly set up for me to, in order to go and put myself into that position. Now when I fall in this position, my arm is across his body. I just thrust my hips forward and arch back with my arm. The power comes from the hips and my back. So once again, first I need to sell it with a Superman punch. And he's blocking it here. Now I know his reaction. Then I'm gonna go and commit 100% in it.
I'm using a big lead Superman decoy to getting him deep and use the power of my hips to put him down.
So if you like to set up your takedown with the cross, because you like to do it with your head going this way on your left, it's fine. I'm gonna show you how to do it against an opponent in an open stance position. So if I wanna go first, one of the most efficient is the double leg takedown in that case. You can do your double leg, like I said before, with a jab, but your opponent is already halfway into a sprawl. So it's better to do it in an open stance if I'm here with the cross. So the way I set up the decoy is not with a straight cross, it's with an overhand cross, because I want him to be worried. So the first thing I need to do is to create a threat. So I'm in a fight here, I'm throwing it, and now I see his reaction that he's blocking it. Even if I miss, I miss, he's gonna be afraid because you see the power that is coming from that angle. So when I'm doing it, I can use that as a decoy to connect my body. I'm not a big fan of going on my knees. I always try to stay on my legs. Because if he sprawl and I'm here, I'm strong. If he's sprawling out, I'm on my knees, I'm not as strong. And one thing very important, when I connect, I want to make sure I connect elbow deep. And I want to connect with my hands. Because if he sprawl here, he has a lot more chances to get out. So once again, I use a big decoy in order to get in. Once I get in and the contact is made elbow deep, I try to look across of him and drive by pushing with my legs. Once again, I'm creating a big decoy. Boom! I change level and connect. Once I'm here, I keep the momentum. My other hand goes behind his knees and I'm elbow deep and then I drive across.
I use that big overhand as a decoy to get elbow deep on my opponent, and I drive across with the power of my legs.
When I get in a solid double leg position, I make a great job of doing a great decoy here. And my opponent give me a lot of resistance. Pay attention to his legs here. When I try to drive, he's pushing against me. When I feel that happening, I'm not gonna go against the pressure to waste all my energy. I just simply turn the corner and backstep with a chest pressure in the same time. I make sure his other leg doesn't touch the ground. I got a big grip, elbow deep in it. Once again, first I need to set it up well. Make sure to set it up well. If you don't set it up and try to get in without setup, I can get kneed. Or you can sprawl because you see me coming and I waste all my energy. So make sure the setup is there. Boom! Here, try to drive, turn the corner.
Using that big cross as a decoy, when I get in on that double, he's creating a lot of resistance. Then I step back and put the pressure down.
One of the things I like to do in a fight situation when I cannot reach the double because my opponent is too far away is I go first with a single leg. When I'm here and I use a good decoy and I'm doing a great job of getting in and I'm driving, a lot of people ask me my defense against the guillotine because a lot of time it makes you susceptible to a guillotine here. So I go by feel. If I feel that my opponent is reaching out for me, I just cut my chin in. And if he's trying to go for a guillotine, it leaves him open for a chest pressure here. So when I get in, the best takedown to do in that situation is to go for a double leg. So even if, let's say, we would go for a guillotine and I drive across for the double leg, when I'm gonna fall, I will be in side control, which is a good thing. I don't want to be cut in the guard or an half guard with the guillotine. So it's important that if I'm in a situation like this and I feel that his arm is around my neck, I switch and I go across of him. When I'm in a T position, it's much better to get out of a guillotine. So this technique, single leg to double leg. So I'm using a great decoy to get in. Then I'm driving across to the double leg. Once again, I'm doing a great job as a decoy. I'm driving. I switch my hand to the knees, drive across, I look across, and I end up on cross-side position.
I use that big overhand as a decoy. I get in and I drive to a double. Once I get the single leg, I use the power of my leg to drive my opponent down.
Sometimes when I get in and want to go for a double leg, my opponent blocks my elbow. Imagine I get in, my elbow is blocked, so I can't go for it. So what I do in that case, I step with my foot and my toes inward, and I'm going for a chest pressure by backstepping and applying pressure on his chest. So once again, it's an action, reaction, response. Doing a great job out here. Boom. Here, try to go for a double leg, it doesn't work. I step first with my toe inward, back step and chest pressure.
I use my big cross as a decoy, getting in on that single. Then I try to drive for the double, it doesn't work. I take a small step in front of him and a big step behind. And I go with a chest pressure.
Sometimes we compare fighting to a game of chess. Action, reaction, action, reaction. This is a good example of it. So sometimes I'm gonna get in with a single leg, head outside. I'm gonna go for a double leg, he's blocking me. Try to go for a chest pressure, it doesn't work because he released the pressure. Then it forces me to go back to my first initial option, which is the double leg. Action, reaction, action, reaction. I'm setting it up here. Here, double leg is blocking the elbow. Chest pressure doesn't work, he's releasing the pressure. Switching to double leg again. Once again. So remember, when the chest pressure doesn't work, you can go back to double leg. Here, chest pressure doesn't work, I go back to my double leg.
Using that big overhand as a decoy, getting in on that single, try to go for chest pressure, my opponent defend. Then I drive across using the power of my legs to collect his other leg and finish with a double.
When I cannot take my opponent down because his leg is too flexible and he has too much of a good balance and a great defense, I'm lifting him up by the center line with a crotch lift. It's the same technique that we've seen before, but the entry and the setup is a little bit different because of the way I get in with my overhand. So I'm setting it up again. Here. I'm pulling him to me, changing my grip, and lifting him up with my hips. Sometimes my opponent's reaction will be to fall on his back. Depending how his response is, I need to be aware of it and be ready to react accordingly. So once again, I'm getting in, pulling him to me, ready for an attack.
I get in using a big decoy with my overhand. Then I lift him up with the power of my hips on his center line, and I make sure I put all my weight on top of him from preventing him to stand back up.
A great way to take my opponent down, if I don't like to do it with the control of his leg, is to switch to the leg to the body control. One important detail, guys, when you get in for a single leg. So you want your shoulder to be inside. If my shoulder is outside, my opponent can turn the corner and take my back and butt drag me to the floor. Very important that you need to keep your shoulder inside and be in a solid posture in good balance. So when I'm here, I'm in this position. If I ask my partner try to butt drag me, he can't because I'm in a solid position and my shoulder is inside. However, if I don't like to take my opponent down with the control of his leg, I can switch to the body. I go here, here, and then I step in with my first, with my second, and then I lift him with my hips. Then I duck under and take his back. Once again, doing a great job to setting it up. Here, switch to a body lock, step in, take the control of his back.
Use my big cross as a decoy to get in on that single leg. I grab his body and I lift him with the thrust of my hips and the power of my legs. Once he's down, I put all my weight on him.
One of the great ways you can take advantage of an attack like this is to take your opponent's back. If you don't feel comfortable to control his legs. So if I'm here with Usain and I'm getting in and I got good control of his legs, one thing I can do is reach for his body and straight up, and as I'm straightening up, it's important to drive towards him. If I just straight up, I don't apply any pressure on him. I want to make sure that when I straight up, I'm driving with my head towards him, across of him. When I get his back, one good way to take him down that I like, and it's important to pay attention to my head here. My head is close to him. If my head is away, he can take a wizard and throw me forward, and then I'm in big trouble here. So we go back into the position. I'm here, ducking under, here. My head is close to him. If he try to wizard me, it's impossible. One way I like to take him down from there is by tripping him forward. So I put my knee in front and toss him forward here. Again. Great decoy, very important. I don't emphasize it enough of the decoy because this is how you set up your technique. It's the most important one. Here. Drive. Take his back and trap his leg and drive him forward. Now you're ready for other action.
Use my cross as a decoy to get in on the single. Reach, and I go for a duck under because he's too heavy. Once I get his back, I put my knees in front of his foot and drive him forward. I put all my weight on top of him.
A great way to take my opponents down if he's walking forward and trying to break my grip is with the foot sweep. We call it a foot sweep, but it's really a leg sweep because I sweep him not only with the arch of my foot, with my entire body, lower body, my entire leg and hips. I'm here, I get in. Here. I drive as I'm ducking underneath, take his back. And now he's trying to break my grip. I'm timing his footstep to put him down. It's very important to pay attention of his footstep, to time him while he's stepping. Once again. Here. Time his footstep, and I put him down with the power of my hip thrust.
Use my big overhand as a decoy, change level, get in on that single, duck under, take his back, And then the key in this technique is to use the timing of his footstep, and I sweep his foot to put my opponent down.
When I get my opponent's back and I cannot trip him forward or leg sweep him, I can go backward. So I'm here with Toussaint. I'm doing a great job of getting in, ducking under. And now he's doing a great job of blocking my body. If I try to go on the side, he's blocking me. And he's very solid. So when I see that coming, I'm gonna sweep one of his legs with the arch of my foot. I use the power of my arm to pull him over the arch of my foot in order to sweep him. So I'm gonna choose one side, I step on the other one, I sweep his leg as I'm pulling it towards. Once again, here, duck under, I'm gonna sweep his leg, so I'm pulling him towards the arch of my foot, backward, to make him fall.
Using my cross to get inside the single leg, he's too heavy, then I switch to duck under, take his back, and when he gives me a lot of resistance for my forward pressure, I use the arch of my foot to pull him back and put him down.